Wah! Hello everyone. How are we all doing? I think I'm coming through. Yes, good. Excellent. Hello Chad, I am doing alright. Hello Delta. And hello Kairu, and everyone else who is in chat or may come into chat in the next few minutes. And yeah, it's been a while, hasn't it, folks? I want to start by just getting a few things out of the way. Firstly, I want to thank everyone who has watched our videos and such over the vacation that me, Dane, and Fallout took. We appreciate your support in watching that content. So yeah, thank you for that. I hope everyone had a good couple of weeks. Second thing, health related. As if you're in Europe, you might be aware that we are having on-again off again heat waves, and they have set off my asthma. So, apologies if there's any coughing or wheeziness on this stream. I have had my asthma stuff, but some of it still might last, okay? And let me know if, music or whatever needs to be turned up or down, etc. Thank you, Chad. Hello, Crystal. Hello, Angel. One other thing. Obviously, we're going to be talking about some quite controversial issues today. Let's do our best to keep chat clear of any arguments. Let's have a good-natured conversation, debate, discussion. The usual stuff. So, the plan today is talk about the DLC generally, sort of just clarify my thoughts. Then talk about everything else, basically, okay? So, let's get started with my initial, the DLC. Let's get started with the DLC. In a broad sort of context. Let's move this out of the way a little bit. And let's bring up another image here. Hello, Rob. Rob, no one should ever feel like they can't talk. We're all here to chat and discuss this. So, let's just start by bringing this up. So, let me make it quite clear, first of all, that I think the side that isn't the controversial bit, so the Deinosuchus, which I think it's good that the game is diversifying its animal types that we've got in game. I'll be honest, kind of makes it feel even weirder that it didn't show up in the wetlands pack, only to show up here. I still feel like the Deinosuchus would be better suited to the wetlands pack, but that's neither here nor there. Maybe it wasn't ready in time. Whatever. I am glad that we are starting to diversify the animals, get away from just dinosaurs, because paleontology is, huge. There's 500 million years worth of creatures to consider, not just dinosaurs. And I think Jurassic itself would be better if it started to diversify a bit. So, ultimately, I think the Deinosuchus is a good idea. Let's also be honest. Second, perhaps, to Megalodon, it's the other creature that everybody and their mothers have wanted since Evolution 2, really. So, this is, if you like, you could say the Deinosuchus is the carrot that's being dangled in front of all of us donkeys to come and buy this. I don't think anyone would disagree with it. Ordem, we'll discuss responding to comments I've received sort of similar to that in a bit, because that is one of the ones specifically I do want to respond to, is people who do think it's not a massive problem. And I do have a few rebuttals to that idea, but we'll get to that in a bit, Gordon. Goofy, at the moment I'm just going over my thoughts about the DLC in general, just to basically re-clarify things. Pososuchus, again, I'm glad we're getting Triassic representation, and we can include the Desmatasuchus in that as well. More Triassic representation. The game has needed that for a very long time. And I think, again, Postosuchus is one of those keystone animals for Walking with Dinosaurs fans that we have wanted to see. So, again, I don't think there's anything wrong with the Postosuchus. The walking on 4 legs versus 2 legs, which is a discussion, and I'll leave that for now because I want to talk about that when I'm in my responding to comments I've received bit in reference to one particular person who went to Reddit after I said something that Evo and everybody else has said, but apparently I was the evil one for saying it. I'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, Postosuchus, good idea. I don't really think it suits a Crocodilian Coast DLC. I think the theming is a bit off there. But more Triassic representation, good idea. And the Desmatasuchus that we haven't yet properly seen, which we'll be seeing tomorrow, I assume. It's a very interesting animal. You know, it's armored, it has spikes. It looks very similar to a Sauropelta, really. The only thing I'm going to say is that I hope that they find a way to differentiate it from the ankylosaurs we already have. Otherwise, it's going to sort of fade in, as it were. Like, it's not going to stand out as much. So I hope that they do something to make it different, is my hope. But overall, Dinosuchus, Postosuchus, Desmatasuchus, perfectly reasonable species. I think good species, wanted species. The building set, which I confused somebody or insulted somebody by saying that the building set was a bit Americanized, and I don't think they were quite understanding of what I meant. It is a very American boardwalk set. If you look at the screenshots that they presented to us all, that's what the coastline looks like in America. It reminds me of like what it looks like in the Free Willy films, where you've got the road running next to the sea. It looks like that. It's an Americanized coastal building set. I personally think it's a bit disappointing because we've already had an Americanized building set with the wetland stuff. And I would, considering we have like the Asia theme and the European theme, I think it would be interesting for them to put building themes in that are either more generic or universal, or to start putting in building themes from other parts of the world. That's kind of a nitpick, really. I'm not actually that upset, because even though these are quite Americanized, I actually quite like them. There's a few buildings in here that the little, the pier and the little seating area covered with glass, I actually really quite like it. Quite like them. So, yes, they're Americanized. Would be nice to have other parts of the world, but they're also, they've been done well, is what I'm going to say. Like, they have been actually made very well, and I actually like these better than the wetland stuff easily. The wetland stuff is like, you can only really use it if you want to make an enclosure that looks like a swamp in Louisiana. Like, if you don't want to make a swamp that looks like Louisiana, or you're not trying to replicate Fallout 3's Point Lookout DLC, your kind of stuff. Whereas these, I think, are more sort of applicable to more environments. So I do prefer these to the wetland ones. Hello, Connor. You'll be waiting to go on sale. Yes, we'll get to the elephants in the room in a sec. I wanna start positive. I want to start positive, you know. Which new species do you think made up most of the budget? Well, it's not really the budget. I think it's better to look at it. Which one do you think took the most time? And it's the Dinosaurs. It would have needed a whole new animation rig because there's no other animal in the game that has that method of locomotion. The lunge animation and the death roll animation, they're completely brand new, so they would have had to be made from scratch. And to get the death roll to work, they've had to put a new... they've called it a bone in the head, but they've had to put a new point of interaction into the heads of some animals to get it to do that animation. So it's definitely the Dinosaurs that took the most time. The Postosuchus probably is reusing a rig from a similar sized animal with minor changes to the feet because it's got different feet and legs. And the Desmatosuchus, I wouldn't be surprised if it's using a modified Chunkingosaurus or something. Hello, Nicholas. Every American state or region has a different culture, and this is obviously North California to Washington State. I see. I'm not very good at like American architecture, so thank you for pointing that out. The new building set reminds me of Jaws. That's a good point. It's a shame we don't have like a boat or anything. The other thing that's worth talking about is the modular building elements here. This is just a smattering of the building elements. I'm especially fond of the anchors. I think the anchors are a nice touch, and the bunting. I really like the bunting. So if you want to sort of dress up your park for, you know, if you want to build a park around a particular event like Christmas or something like that, the bunting comes in quite handy. I'm a big fan of these traditional style picnic benches as well, because these are all over England and stuff. And these are much nicer than those horrible DFW ones that we have at the moment. I also really like these little boardwalk cubes. Ooh, YouTube just mucked up a little bit there. I'll be back. That was weird. Yeah, I really like these little boardwalk cubes, which have like stairwells and stuff, so we can put things together and create raised areas more easily and create keys and stuff like that. Those sorts of pieces I think are going to work quite well with the rebirth pieces, like the big concrete walls and stuff. So you can create the concrete wall where the water and the ocean is, and then you can create like the wooden boardwalk on top. So yeah, I think the modular building elements are also quite good. Good mix there. Now then, if that was it for $7.99, I would be saying amazing pack, can't wait to have it. Postosuchus great, Desmatosuchus great, Dinosuchus great. But they didn't do that, did they? And we got we're getting Shonosaurus and Styxosaurus on top of that, and we're being charged, this is obviously in British currency, £4 extra, which comes out to £2 a resold species, which, if you do the maths, we are paying about 50p more than we did when we brought them for Evolution 2. So in Evolution 2, the Styxosaurus, the Shonisaurus, they were about £1.43, 45. Here they're £2, so we're paying about 50p more. Now, it doesn't sound like a lot, but we are paying more for them this time. And obviously this DLC becomes then more expensive as a result. Now, we've seen more about the Shonisaurus and the Styxosaurus, and we'll talk about them in a sec. But just broadly, hello Guillermo, I don't accept the reselling of content at all. Whether it's Frontier, EA, Activision, doesn't matter what game company it is, the reselling of content, especially paid content, from one game to another is just a really bad anti-consumer practice. That is just a bland, basic point. And if EA is criticized for reselling, you know, the Sims 3 DLCs in the Sims 4, then Frontier should be criticized for reselling Styxosaurus and Shonisaurus back to us. Now, there's more nuance to that, and we'll go into that in a bit with the comments. Yeah, Ordem, I get that particular perspective, but I will respond to that when we get to that particular section. Now, obviously, since I did the video on Wednesday? Or was it Tuesday? I think it was Tuesday when we actually got the... when we were made aware of this. So since that, we've obviously got more... I want to say evidence, but information. So let's get rid of that and bring up and I'm gonna have to figure out how to do this. Talk amongst yourself for a moment. What one shall we start with? Let's start with the Dinosaurs. Thank you, VLC. Okie dokie. How do I get this onto here? Window capture. To capture that one in that. Excellent. There we go. Let's try and make this as big as I can. There we go. Okay. And I'm just going to move you guys over so I can see what you're saying still. Oh, it was shown on Monday. My mistake, Cairo. Right, so yeah, so this was what they... I'm going to mute this because obviously I'll get thingied otherwise. So this was what they revealed about the Dinosaurs. Let's be fair, it does just look like a very big crocodile, but that's what it is. I am hoping... I mean, we haven't seen all of the skins and patterns for it. I'm hoping they're not all just, you know, beige, crocodilian colours. I'm hoping that we've at least got a few exotic colours in there, I suppose is the term I would use. I think model-wise, it's quite nice. I do like kind of how big its nose is. It's a bit like the... Oh, shoot. The Distortus Rex. I just kind of want to go and squeeze it. It'd be the last thing I ever do. But I just want to squeeze it. And we have the baby, and again, the baby is just, you know, a little croc. It's not gonna look that different. I'm assuming this is the juvenile adult social animation, and we obviously they only have the one. Not much, Lord. We're just going over, you know, starting stuff at the moment. But this is, you know, the basic social interaction between the juvenile and adult of it climbing over its skull. I think it's kind of sweet. Kind of reminds me of a cat, in a way. I'm cutting out. Let me just check OBS. There's not a problem with OBS. And I'm going to check my mic. Maybe it's just... maybe it's not liking the fact that I'm trying not to talk too loudly. I will try and talk more directly to the microphone for you, Angel. Sorry. I'll also turn the music down slightly. I do wonder, actually, Chad raises something. I wonder if they're going to make the... What do you call it? The noise they make? It's like that throat squeak. I do wonder if they will make that noise. Other than that, I mean, look at the size difference. It really is a big crocodile, isn't it? Like, the size difference between the baby and the adults is massive. Oh, laser beam. Yeah, Chad. Good. Yeah, laser beam. James, well, we were on vacation for a couple of weeks, James. That's why we haven't been doing streams for the last 2 weeks. Who's Laserbeam? I think he's referring, Lord Bumblebee, to the noise the baby crocs make. They make like a pew. They make like a laser beam noise. That's obviously the juvenile interaction. And then obviously you have this lunge. Now, I have to say, if this is how it starts the lunge, where it's like sticking its head up out of the water, it's not particularly stealthy, is it? I hope it's a little bit more stealthy than just that. But then we have it grabbing from... It's a bit more of a... It's not like a lunge from the water, is it? Like you'd expect with a crocodile. This is more like a... Like it's been thrown at the Postosuchus. Look how far away and high it is when it strikes. I do wonder how that animation is actually going to look in game. It looks like he's been yeeted. It does. But obviously, you know, the grabbing is very brutal, and I appreciate the brutalness. Ulrich, what I mean is, like, when we can see the whole thing, where we can, like, watch the entire animation properly, as opposed to just seeing it come in from the side and not see, like, the build-up to it and everything. It's a very brutal attack, which I appreciate. And then obviously you have the death roll. I kind of wish they would have shown more of that, rather than cut it off. But I'm glad they have a death roll for it. I think that's good. Next up, let's have a look at the Postosuchus. Oh, it has cut a little bit off the side. There we go. You found 6 Deinosuchus teeth. No, that's very cool. What do you think will be the biggest thing Dino will be able to hunt? See, that's a curiosity, because Evo in her video said that only some of the animals had been given the new, like, head thing to make it work with the Deinosuchus. So I'm going to infer that it's going to be animals below a certain size. I'm going to assume that something as big as like a sauropod is probably not going to be attacked. I think probably big theropods like Spinosaurus, T-Rex aren't going to get lunged either. So I'm pretty... That's going to be my guess, you know. Yeah, maybe Dimetrodon, Mason, that's a good point. Postosuchus. Now, again, I think this guy looks kind of adorable. He's a chunky boy. He's like the Fallen Kingdom, not the Fallen Kingdom, Dominion Giga, but like, what do they, Chibi. It's like a chibi Giga. That's all I can see. It's a chibi Giga, or a pangolin. Pangolin, that's a, yeah. Pangolins are the cutest animals ever. And neurotic, you know, J-pop music is the best. I think it looks really good. I really like the detailing on the skin texture. I think that it's been done quite well. Hello, Untamable King, and yes, we are. Yeah, the quality of the skin texture, great work. I just quickly on a bit of a tangent. I kind of wish that they would spend some time improving the skin textures on some of the older animals. Looking at you, Archaeornithomimus, and your rubber skin. Kind of Albertosaurus as well could do with it. Right? When you look at some of the older animals' textures next to the new guys, you can really see the difference. As do I, Neurotic. As do I. So yeah, this is a, you know, it's a wonderfully chunky animal. I assume this is the only social we're going to have for the adults, which is, you know, it's just a kind of aggressive kind of barging about. Nothing. I wouldn't say it's anything particularly unique. It's not like the Distortus Rex's social, for example, which I thought was actually surprisingly cute. This is just a kind of, it's a pretty generic, just kind of, you know, barge you about a bit. Also, the skins, I have to say, it looks like it's just going to go for generic striping, which is fine. It's just not particularly innovative, but that's fine. Again, I hope we get some good colors. And then we have, obviously, the weirdest thing about this guy, which is the very weird walk because of the way that its legs and feet are. designed. And I suppose this brings us to the first, like, little controversy that's been going around. The babies are very cute. But yeah, this brings us to the controversy, which is biped versus quadruped. Now, let's be clear. Paleontologically speaking, scientifically speaking, primarily Postosuchus walked on 2 legs, would have walked on 4 legs when standing still or walking very slowly, and there is some evidence to suggest as well that babies walked on 4 legs to start with, and as they grew older, and therefore stronger, became bipedal as they grew. That's the... After going on the internet and looking up at a bunch of different things, that's the sort of general gist of the real science, okay? So, this is paleontologically accurate. But strictly from a game variety perspective, I still think it would be more interesting for the game's animal variety for it to have been a slightly more retro version walking around on 4 legs. Strictly because we don't have many carnivores like that. Now, Mason, you are true, there are lots of 4-legged quadrupedal relatives. Caprosuchus, Saurosuchus, members of the Chasmatosaur family. But that's assuming that they add those in the future. You know, at this point, you know, that's up in the air. I think what I would have preferred, and based off of what Swerve has said in his video about the fact that Postosuchus basically doesn't even go onto its front legs, I think I would have preferred it to use both quadrupedal and bipedal, a bit like the Indoraptor, just to make it more interesting for the game's diversity. That's not me saying, by the way, I think it's terrible it walks around on 2 legs. I think it's fine. I just think strictly from a variety for the game purpose, it would have been better for the game diversity, okay? That's just my perspective. You know me, I think the game needs to be more diverse with its creatures, and you get diversity by introducing locomotion and stuff. So, you know, if we get a Gorgonopsid down the line, fine. Give me Inos Transivia, I will be happy. You know? But strictly just talking about Postosuchus, I think both methods of locomotion would have been, you know... Well, the thing is, Mongol, is it though? Because when you're going to be zoomed out building, it's just going to look like any other bipedal carnivore. That's my view. Like, I'm not criticizing your view, Mongol. I'm just saying that when you actually think about it, when you're going to be looking at it from above, when you're going to have it surrounded by other dinosaurs, I feel like it walking around on 2 legs just ends up with it looking like a dinosaur when it's not. And I actually think a lot of less paleontologically inclined people are going to assume it's a dinosaur because they have it walking bipedally. I did see the Frontier post. I personally think it's a little bit of damage control because of the Shonisaurus, Styxosaurus malarkey. But yeah, I did read through that. But yeah, overall, again, there are things I can nitpick, but I think the Postosuchus is great. You know, it's a chunky chibi giga. It's Triassic representation. Good. Glad to have it. Now, we have to talk about the other two. So let's start with the Styxosaurus. Now then. Just while we go through this, okay, if these two are male and female, Chad, we don't have the video for Desmatasuchus yet, do we? So, if these two are male and female, there is, as far as I can tell, and I've looked at the video, and I've looked at the stuff on the website, there is no physical difference between the male and female Styxosaurus species. No physical model differences. The only difference is inherently in the skin. That is it. The other thing I would say, looking at these babies, is they also have the same neck fins and the same back fins as the adults. So they are more or less identical, they're just shrunk. Like, if you look at them, you know, we have a juvenile here with an adult. They have the neck fin, they have the same tail fluke. It is more or less the same model. And this social animation, this is more or less the same social that the adults have as well, as far as I remember. It's been a while. But I don't think it's a particularly good social either. I don't think it's one of the things I would say about the lagoon animals in general is most of their social animations aren't particularly very good. I think the Plesiosaurus one is good. I think the Dunkleosteus one is good. And I think the Liopleurodon one is good. But all the rest, I think they're kind of generic, which I think is a bit of a shame. But yeah, as far as I'm concerned, this animal is identical to what it is in Evolution 2. The skin texture even looks to be exactly the same. And there's no difference to the models. And if there is a difference between the male and females, it is incredibly slight. If at all. And that's just what I'm going to say about that for the moment. Obviously today we also got the Shonisaurus video. It's a bit annoying we didn't have the Desmatasuchus video before this stream, but whatever. Shonisaurus. Well, this is the female model. This is exactly how it looks in Evolution 2. Same skin design, same color. Baby animation is more or less similar to the Ichthyosaurus animation. They just swim around each other. So I don't think that's particularly inspiring for a social. And obviously here this is the only shot of the male and female in this video next to each other. This is the male skin. We have the upper head spot, which the female doesn't have, and the striping on the tail is different. Like if you look at the striping here, you see you've got about 3 or 4 big stripy bits. Whereas the male, you have a series of stripes going along the body. But there is, again, as far as I can see, no difference between the male and female bodies. Models are identical. Again, as it has to be said, if you look at the Minmi, if you look at the Dinocaris, if you look at the Liplorodon, probably the Elasmosaurus when it comes, if you look at the Kentrosaurus, all of the returning cut species, their models are the same for male and for female. And that is it that we get in this video. So, with that being said, Mongol, do you mind if I come back? Do you know what I'm actually going to do, Mongol? Is I'm going to, if I can pin your message, I'll come to that at the end if there's time, Mongol, okay? Now then, what I want to do now is respond to some of the comments I've had in response to the video I put out, basically saying, or let me just like quickly sum up what I said. Reselling is bad. The actual, you know, the $7.99 bit of the DLC, the Deinosuchus, the Postosuchus, the Desmatasuchus, the modular building stuff, the building set is fine. Adding extra money on top for 2 resold species that have no significant differences is bad. That is to clarify what I said. Now, to respond to some of the... No, I'm not buying it, Archie. To respond to some of the comments I've got, let's start with the first one I want to refer to. Who I am going to put it up because you know, screw them at the end of the day. So let's bring this up. Image. Oops. OBS can be very annoying at times. This guy, which I've just simply labeled as Mr. Reddit Hater. So, this particular fellow after seeing what I put about the Postosuchus, and actually, let's just pause the music. I want to read out for you folks what I said about the Postosuchus in my post about it. Okay? I want to read you what I said, and you guys tell me if any of it comes across as bad. I think greater Triassic representation is something that the evolution games have badly needed for a long time. I think the interpretation looks fine. However, I think having a less scientifically accurate, more 90s inspired design with it walking and running on 4 legs would have made the animals stand out more alongside the other bipedal dinosaurs we have. Overall, I think it's alright. One minor bug I've noticed is it does appear that the forelimbs clip into the body in some shots. I hope this is just rough animation. That is what I said, okay? Nothing terrible, nothing hostile, just a short, simple personal opinion. This particular fellow, instead of responding to that post and having a discussion, as we are doing today, took my post to Reddit and put in this litany of personal aggro, completely offended by what I said. He was so offended by what I had said. Now, I didn't actually get to see what he had completely written because by the time I came along to have a look at it, the post had been deleted. But I was glad that there were quite a few comments of people saying that he should chill, that it was just an opinion, he didn't need to go over the top like this. There were 1 or 2 people supporting him. There was an actual Triclaw Gaming hater in the chat who hates me because basically I blocked him from the channel because he decided to tried to start an argument by, you know, swearing at me and shit in the comment section. So I blocked him from the channel, and he took that personally. So there is a Triclaw hater. There was a Triclaw hater in there. I suppose that, you know, to just do a quick tangent, you know, you're making it on YouTube, or at least you're getting some fame on YouTube when you have people who are dedicated to hating you. But yeah, and all I want to say in response to this is, you know, he's not going to be seeing this, but I'm going to give you my response for someone like this. He took it way too personally. And it's perfectly okay to disagree with me. Like, I know I have controversial opinions. I'm a very opinionated person. It's perfectly okay to disagree. Tell me why. Have a conversation with me. You know, have a discussion. Be good-natured. You don't need to be hostile. You don't need to take it like a personal attack. Just chat. You know, be a normal individual. Don't respond like this guy, you know, being a complete pillock because he took it personally that I said I think Postosuchus would have been better if it walked around on 4 legs. And funnily enough, Swerve said the same thing, and Evo has practically said the same thing as well, that they think if it had walked around more on 4 legs, it would have been a bit more interesting. So I've only said what all the other big YouTubers have said. You know. Anyway, let's move on from him. Let's move on to some genuine responses I've had. So this is probably the one I've had most often. This is the most common comment, which is, oh, I agree, Daria Raptor. I mean, I'm a trained teacher, and I've seen it in the classroom. People just don't know how to deal with people who don't have the same views. It's just they take it as a affront rather than as a way of communicating to people. Oh, Arizonasaurus would be quite fun, actually, I think, Neurotic. Anyway, so this is one of the very common responses I've had, which is, well, the Styxosaurus and Shonisaurus are not returning completely as they are because we're getting a male version of both animals and a juvenile. And as a result, so that juvenile comes with 2 animations. The adult juvenile animation and the juvenile animation. So there are 2 animations and 2 new models. That's the crux of the point. My response to that is, yes, but there is no difference between the male and female Styxosaurus, and there is no difference between the male and female Shonisaurus, apart from the skins. Now, I have some experience with modding Evolution 2 and 3, making my own mods for it. Changing the colour on something is not a difficult job. Like changing where a particular blob of colour is on something and changing what that colour is, it's not a difficult job. And most modern video game creating software, it's not going to be a hugely challenging job to just, let's take the Shonisaurus for example, put a blob of colour on its head. So that is to say, before someone jumps down my throat, I do not at all, I'm not at all trying to diminish the work of the developers. Whether it takes them 20 minutes to do something or 20 hours to do something, they're doing their job well. And the developers, and we'll come back to the difference between the developers and Frontier. The developers are the people who are on the front lines and expendable to the company, as we've seen all around the video game industry. So I'm not diminishing their work, even if it's relatively simple to change the colour of an animal. But if you're going to go to the effort of having sexual dimorphism, does it not make sense that the models be different? Otherwise, would it not be easier to just have a single model and arbitrarily put a male or female symbol on it in the game? Like, if you're not going to change the model at all, what is the point? And if you're not changing the model, why should I buy, or why should I pay for the same animal, you know, copy-pasted from one gender to another? It is the same thing. You're basically giving me Styxosaurus A with a slightly different skin. And I don't think a slightly different skin is worth £4 extra on top of $7.99. And let's be honest, $7.99 is more expensive than the old DLCs in the first place. We used to get 4 animals for $5.99. Now we're getting 3 animals and some buildings for $7.99. And now we're being told to pay £4 extra for 2 returning animals that have had no substantial changes to their adult models. Now, the juvenile model obviously is unique, but again, the Styxosaurus juvenile looks just basically like an adult shrunk to 25%, which you can do quite easily on Blender. You just take the thing and shrink it. Like, again, that's not a challenging thing to do. But beyond it being a challenging thing to do, I actually also think it kind of removes the whole point of having juveniles and sexual dimorphism in the first place. Because we want females and males to look different. We want them to look different from one another so that we have some visual variation within the herds, or whatever collective noun you want to use for a group of lagoon animals, I suppose. We want them to look different beyond the colours, don't we? Or is that just me? Yeah, I would like the female Styxosaurus to not have the frills and the males to have the frills, so they look visually different and interesting. I don't particularly think that's asking for too much. If you're going to charge me for them again, I think it's fair to want something more than a copy-based job. And for the people that are saying, well, they're adding things to them so it's worthwhile paying, so would you be happy to pay for the Liopleurodon, the Kentrosaurus, the Elasmosaurus? Would you be happy to pay for the Carcharodontosaurus when that comes? You know, if you're happy to pay for the Shonisaurus and Styxosaurus, would you be happy to pay for all of the other ones then? Because I suspect if you turned around and said to people, well, we were going to bring Carcharodontosaurus back, but we're going to charge you for it, I suspect people would have a problem with that. Same as you know, we're going to charge you for the Liopleurodon. Oh, we're going to charge you for the Concavinator, which they did. You know. Jamie, we'll get to that particular comment in a minute. That is one of the ones I want to talk about, because I do also have some things to say about that. Oh, actually, it is exactly the next one. So we can talk about that right now. Well, I didn't buy it last time, so I don't care / it doesn't matter. Now, of all of the comments I've had, I actually think this is the fairest response. It is a totally fair response to say, I didn't go and buy it last time, so for me it's not reselling because I didn't buy it. And I think it's completely fine to say that. But at the same time, that's kind of sticking a middle finger up to those who have supported the game in the past. No, those of us who have been here from Evolution 1, brought all the DLCs, Evolution 2, brought all the DLCs, brought Evolution 3. Should we not get some respect for that loyalty? Whether or not you didn't buy it last time, that's irrelevant to those who did buy it last time. And it doesn't make their anger any less relevant. I actually think it's quite a closed-minded perspective to be like, well, because I didn't get it, it doesn't matter. Whether or not you got it, it does matter. Consumer rights and the way video game companies have kind of annihilated the rights of all of us consumers with the shoddy practices they've been doing, they matter to everybody all of the time. No. When gambling mechanics end up being shoved into video games, even if I don't buy that particular video game, it still affects me as a gamer. It's still, you know, it's still harmful to all of us as gamers. And as gamers, we should all be joined together against video game companies and the predatory practices they do. That's at least my perspective. I think we all want our video games to be better. We don't want them to launch unfinished. We don't want them to launch full of microtransactions and full of other stuff. That's perfectly valid, Autumn. But again, why should I have to pay for it again if I've already paid for it? That's like buying a film, watching it once, and then when you go to watch it again, being told you have to pay for it again. I don't think it makes much sense, personally. What was the next one? Here we go. This was another common one I had. You want everything for free? No, we don't. I mean, I have brought every DLC for Evolution 1 and 2 and 3 up to this point. I don't want everything for free. I'm willing to pay for things. The problem is having to pay for the same thing again. Now, some people then turn around to that and say, well, you paid for everything again with Evolution 2. Like, you paid to have everything again from Evolution 1. But that is a bit of a fallacy in thinking. Because if you think about it, for Evolution 1, you had to spend 50 quid to get the game. And then you had to spend all the extra money on top to get the DLC animals. Which came out to... I can't remember exactly, it's something nearing 100 quid or so. For Evolution 2, you paid 60 quid, and you got all of that for free. So technically, yes, we paid for it all again, but it was on a discount. If you can get my thinking. Yeah, but Auden, you're ignoring the... Why should I have to pay for the same content again? That's what you're not getting. I'm happy to pay for content, but why should I have to pay for the exact same content again? Is it not the same as EA doing with The Sims, making people pay for the same DLC from The Sims 3 and The Sims 4? Is it not the exact same? No, that is true. I don't have to get it. Nobody is forcing me, but that doesn't make it any less of a scummy business practice. It is a scummy business practice whether you do it or not. I also happen to think that new content should always be prioritized over old content. We don't want to pay for stuff we've already seen. We want to pay for stuff that's new, don't we? And if people are so willing to pay for the Shoni and Styxo and they think it's fine, well then go and pay for Liporodon, Elasmo, Kakarodontosaurus. Go pay for all the other cut animals. But the question I have for you is then, how many times are you willing to pay for the same thing? How many times are you willing to pay? Let's take a hypothetical. Let's say there's a Jurassic World Evolution 4 and a Jurassic World Evolution 5, and Shonisaurus is cut out of 4 and 5. Are you willing to pay for it again in Evolution 4? Are you willing to pay for it again in Evolution 5? Like, it's a hypothetical situation, but how many times are you willing to pay for the same DLC? And again, as Kairu says, if they came with new models, if they had been remodeled, if they had actual, genuine sexual dimorphism, then fine. But they don't. All they have is a different skin, and a different skin is not worth paying again for. That's my perspective. See, Lord Bumblebee, I'm completely with you. I didn't particularly like them reselling the hybrid pack again, but the Ankylodocus was totally remodeled. That was a silver lining. They did totally remodel the Ankylodocus. But they haven't remodeled the Shoni or the Styxo males at all. They're the same. We'll get on to... there's something I want to talk about the cutting of species and stuff in a bit as well, about whether, you know, we were aware of what was happening. You bought the base game with the content that was in the base game, you knew what it was and the price, and you decided to get it. Anything more separated. Okay, Auden, but again, we're paying for the same content again. You're ignoring this. We are paying for the same thing again. Would you be less mad? I'm not mad, by the way, I'm just disappointed. Would you be less mad if it was either just 1 resold species or 2 resold and 4 or 5 new? I would be less mad if the male had some degree of model difference. I still think it would be bad if there was 1 resold animal in there. But I would probably be a bit less angry about it. The fact that there's 2, it's just a bit... I think it's a bit selfish of them, personally. Now, the next very common thing that I had is this one. They're new to Jurassic World Evolution 3, so it isn't reselling. This was another common thing I had. First of all, Frontier chose what to cut and what not to cut. And a cynical person, which I am, might say they chose to cut species they knew people would pay money for so that they could get extra money from them. That's what a cynical person would say. Frontier chose to cut species. Chose to cut them, you know, it's not like they gave us all like a vote. It's not like they said to us as a community, look, we can't put all the animals in. Do like a big community vote on what things should be cut and what should not be cut. They chose to cut what they cut, and they're choosing to resell what they're reselling for the strict purpose of earning extra cash. Just because they weren't in Jurassic World Evolution 3 to start with, doesn't defend the practice of them reselling it. That's my perspective. They're only new because of what Frontier chose to do in the first place by cutting the species from Evolution 2. Oh, Darwiraptor, if they do that, I shall be so angry. That one might result in a rant if they choose to do that. Put my beloved Huangosaurus in a paid pack, I will go mad. If they had new behaviors or something worthwhile, or had kept the price the same, I wouldn't be so annoyed. Exactly, Archie. That's again also what I would say. Because I think they have nothing different about them at all. There's just nothing different. Now, the one that really winds me up is this one. Don't you want to support the devs? There is this very weird perspective that buying resold content it's supporting the devs. You know, it's keeping the game alive. You're supporting the development team. It has nothing to do with supporting the devs. Frontier has multiple revenue streams. I mean, they're due to get a massive boost from Planet Zoo 2. They've already admitted that the Evolution games are some of their best selling. They're not exactly an indie company. This isn't Prehistoric Kingdoms developers who are indie devs, you know, a tiny team who are working on a really small budget. Frontier employs hundreds of people. They're worth millions of pounds. And we know what happens, really, the game developers are expendable. We saw this in 2024 when Frontier went through some financial difficulties and fired many employees. And from reading the report of one employee that they fired in a particularly quite rude and quite dismissive way, Big Al Kakarodontosaurus for me. The game developers, the actual people making the games, are the ones that get fired. When it comes to supporting the devs, it's not supporting the devs. What you're doing is you're supporting the CEOs, the shareholders, and Universal. Let's be fair. Probably a lot of the DLC money goes to Universal on the license. So it's not supporting devs, we're supporting Universal, a greedy corporation who keep putting out shit films. You're acting as if buying the species in 2 makes you entitled to have them in 3. Yeah, actually I am. If I've already brought the species in 2, why should I have to pay for them again in 3? We didn't have to do that with any of the species in Evolution 1 for Evolution 2. And those that just brought the game on Switch 2, they got all of Evolution 2's animals for the 1 price tag. They didn't have to buy all the DLCs again. So, why should people who have supported the game all the way through, why should we have to pay for the same animal again? And like I said earlier, Autumn, how many times are you prepared to pay for the same animal? Like, are you prepared to keep paying for the same animal over and over and over and over again? Because I'm not. Because I think that's a scummy business practice. And so do a lot of other people. I agree, Lord Bumblebee. Like, we have to be able to criticize in order for things to improve. Well, they do give animals away for free, Jamie, but they're the ones that they cut from the base game in the first place. So it's kind of like taking something away from somebody and then you're giving it back to them later. I'm not sure they get a bonus for doing that. Yeah, Dreadwolf, that is probably what they would respond with. You don't actually own anything you spend money on anymore. Do you think we're going to get any more free DLC dinosaurs like the duck? Maybe. I think they might, given the sort of controversy that this is all dragged up. Because, again, it's not just me. There are lots of people saying similar stuff to me. I think they might give another freebie just to sort of arrest the controversy. Maybe. But if I wouldn't be surprised if on the anniversary of the game's release we get a freebie. That for me would be like the perfect time to do it. And again, I'm happy to pay for... This is something I think Autumn has ignored. I'm happy to pay for the DLC animals again if they have gone through reasonable changes, like the Ankylodocus. I was happy to pay for that again because it had been completely rebuilt. When it is not changed at all is when I have a problem with it. Show me that you have put some work into it and I will pay for it. If you haven't changed it, you're reselling it, and I don't think That's good consumer practice. Why was the iconic John Hammond statue in the big pile of poop removed for Evolution 3? The big pile of poo, I don't know. When it comes to the John Hammond statue, I suspect it might be related to having something to do with the legalism in the background. Because I'd imagine they would have to pay for his likeness. Like, they would have to pay Richard Attenborough's estate to use his likeness, I would imagine. Like, at the very least, they'd probably have to get permission to do that. You can't just take some random dead celebrity and stick their face in your game. I imagine there would have to be some legal process to that, and maybe they had it for Evolution 2 and they didn't have it for Evolution 3. Maybe, like, the whatever in the background, maybe they said, no, we're not going to let you do it, and so it had to be cut. That would be my theory, anyway. The next thing I had, which is something I had actually today. It's not a big deal. Fair enough. Actually, I kind of agree. It's not a big deal. There are terrible, terrible things happening in other parts of the world. You know, climate chaos has been going on this year. There's that horrible war in the Ukraine between Ukraine and Russia. There is the genocide going on by the Israelis against the Gazan people, and it is a genocide. There are terrible, terrible things happening around the world, and perhaps getting frustrated over the reselling of 2 animals in a video game is not a big deal. Fair enough. All I'm going to say is, this is the 4th time they've done this. They resold the Huango. They resold the hybrids. They resold Concavenator and Thanatos Draken. And now they're reselling Shoni and Styxo. Now, it's perfectly... it's to say it's not a big deal. But in video game history, people said it wasn't a big deal when microtransactions first started, and now look. People said loot boxes weren't a big deal, and now look. People said gambling mechanics weren't a big deal, and now look. Ads in video games aren't a big deal, now look. Always online. AI use, it's not a big deal. Saying it's not that big of a deal, I understand, but I also think it wipes your hands of responsibility as consumers. I'm old enough to remember when video games didn't have all of the predatory practices they have now. You brought a game, the game was finished. Yeah, there might be bugs in it, but it was finished. It wasn't full of extra stuff to scalp more money from you. And like I said, this is the 4th time they've done it. At what point does it then become a big deal? Again, hypothetically, let's say in Jurassic World Evolution 4, they say, we're going to put in the deluxe edition the T-Rex. You have to pay extra to have T-Rex. Now, I know that might be a bit of an extreme example, but hypothetically, What if they charged you for having the T-Rex? Or the Triceratops? Or the Brachiosaurus? Or the Stegosaurus? Any dinosaur? What if they decided to turn around and go, we're going to charge you for that? Because that's essentially what has happened with stuff like microtransactions. We went from horse armor in Oblivion, which everyone said, oh, it's not a big deal, it's a bit of a laugh, it's a bit silly, to where we are now, where games are so rammed full of cut content that's being sold as microtransaction DLC. It's a slippery slope is what I'm saying. So it might not be a big deal now, but it certainly could be a big deal in the future. But fair enough if you think it's not a big deal now. That's totally fair. But I do think you're ignoring the possible dangers of allowing that behavior to happen more and more. This one I also got today. They don't care about you, who cares what you think? Hello, AESR. Yeah, I know they don't. So what? I don't make my content on YouTube expecting Frontier to be there. Like, oh, what does Tricolor Gaming think about this? Like, I don't make... That's not my point on commenting on stuff on YouTube, or making my content, on giving my opinions. I'm not doing this thinking that Frontier is gonna listen to me. Like, they don't listen to Evo. Evo is like, what, 420,000 subs? And she's been asking for bridges for so long, and we still don't have them. They don't even listen to her, and she's got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds more subscribers than I have. I don't go into making content on this platform with the expectation that they're going to listen to me. I think they should listen to some of my ideas, because I think they would benefit everybody. But that's not what I'm doing it for. What I am doing is I'm standing on the principle of the situation. I'm refusing to buy it on principle. Not because I think they might give a shit that one person is not buying it. I'm doing it out of principle. Because I want to. I want to stand by my belief that reselling cut content is a scummy practice and shouldn't be rewarded. And I'm going to stand on that principle, and I'm not going to buy that DLC until the price drops to something closer to $7.99. So I'm not being charged extra for those resold animals. Yeah? I am standing on a personal principle. Other people can choose not to. Whatever. Doesn't matter. I'm just doing it for my personal principle as a consumer. That's the only reason I'm doing it. And the post I put up, because this particular fellow, he responded to the post I put up saying I'm not going to buy it. I didn't put that post up there for Frontier's benefit. I put that up there for the people who watch this channel's benefit. So they know that I'm not going to be making content on this DLC, that I'm not going to have it, so don't expect to see this in future videos. That's why I put that up there. It's not for Frontier to view, it's for the people who watch our stuff to view, so that they know not to expect content on it. That's what that post was there for. That's the only reason it was there for. So yeah, Frontier doesn't care what I think. I know they don't. Who gives a shit? What will you do if the next DLC has 2 returning species again? Honestly, considering Frontier's actual site is probably an hour's train travel up the road from me, I would probably go to their office and stand outside their office with a placard that says reselling DLC is a scummy business practice and see what happens, just as a bit of a laugh. No, I have the right to protest in this country as long as I'm not a nuisance. That's what I would probably do if they did it again. Because it's a scummy business practice. The last common response I had in to my video, and it's the one that I think comes from the younger members of the audience. How can 5 animals be bad? More animals equals better. It really doesn't, though. More species does not improve the game. At least, not generally. I would say when it comes to the lagoons, they need new species. They need their species, and they need mechanical development, gameplay stuff. They need lots of stuff. But as a general rule, more animals does not equal better. That was Evolution 2's problem. Evolution 2 had 122 animals, and I'm going to say I don't think it needed all of them. Like, we couldn't put them all on one map in the first place. And why should you? The point is to be selective when you're building parks, to use specific animals, to mix and match, to vary what you're using, not using the same thing over and over again. You can have 700, you could have all, I don't know how many it actually is these days. I think it's probably closer to 1,000, but last time I checked it was 800. You could have all 800 Genesis of dinosaur in this game. It wouldn't make it better. Because fundamentally the game needs everything else. It needs animations, it needs behavior, it needs more mechanics, it needs more maps, it needs more building sets and modular building pieces, and it needs guest improvements. It needs gameplay stuff. It needs, funnily enough, Evolution 3 needs all the stuff that Evolution 1 needed and Evolution 2 needed. It still needs all the stuff that it has missed. Hello, James. We are. Imagine how much praise they would have gotten if the DLC had just 3 crocs. You know, funnily enough, I reckon if they had actually stuck to the theming of the DLC and actually had it as... Oh, hello, Chrono. And had it as 3 genuine crocs, I think I probably would be more inclined to buy it even with the Shono or Stixo. Oddly enough. Because then it feels like they're not just using the Deinosuchus as the carrot for everyone. It's like, here's a Deinosuchus, but also here's Sarcosuchus, and here's Machiamasmo. What is it? What's the one I'm using in my Lagoon DLC video? Where is my list? Machimosaurus Rex, which is this giant, genuine sea-living crocodile. I think if there were 3 genuine crocs, then I think it would also be better than just 1 croc and 2 random Triassic period animals that have nothing to do with crocodiles or the coast. Yeah, I agree with you, Untamable King, as well. That's the other thing. We got no new lagoon species, and we still haven't had a brand new lagoon species. And here they are reselling 2 of them back to us. That also adds an extra layer of, like, middle fingerism. Like, we're not even getting a new animal here. We're just wanting 2 of the animals, the 2 of the limited animals we had. The 2 best ones as well. Let's be fair. Shonisaurus and Styxo, they're 2 well-loved animals from the lagoon. It's all of these little bits that make it annoying. It's not just the reselling, it's what they're reselling, and why they're reselling, and how they're reselling it. It's the whole thing which makes it annoying. It isn't just reselling. It's all of the situation. How did we not have any new lagoon species since the Megalodon in 24? Was that the last? Bloody hell, I suppose it was. That's shocking, isn't it? Why couldn't they add at least 1 new feature? Yeah, Polsky, I'm with you. Like, the lagoons, I mean, since a lot of you are here, I'll tell you now, I'm in the process of creating like a theoretical lagoon-based expansion DLC idea video. I'm getting artwork commissioned for it and all sorts. Just to, you know, this is what I would do sort of thing. So, it probably won't be out until like September time though, because the Walking with Dinosaurs retrospective is taking priority on scripting and stuff. That script is about half done. But yeah, to get back to my point, more dinosaurs is not better. And actually, the more animals you put into evolution, you get gradually diminishing returns. It's not more animals is better, it's like specific animals. You need to be specific. We want a Gorgonopsid, we want marine croc, etc, etc. We don't just want 20 variations of Edmontosaurus, for example. Now then, so that is me. That was me responding to the comments. I am going to put what shall we have in the? What shall we have up in the as image? Let's just have this up. Just have that up just to fill some space. So this is now where I turn to more to you guys. I'm going to instead of reading my notes and stuff, I'm gonna have all attention on the chat. Oh, actually, let me respond to that pinned. What free content upgrades you think we will see in future updates? Well, there's a difference there. It's you know, what do I think we will likely see, and what do I wish we would see? I want to see at least one I was going to say DLC, but actually I'm going to be a bit more challenging. I want at least one expansion that specifically focuses on the lagoons and or the aviaries. Both of those habitats are woefully underappreciated and underutilized. Both are deserving of an expansion DLC on their own. Combine it if there must, but there needs to be something for those environments. I would also hope that they were considering bringing in some Japanese dinosaurs. I do think it is one of the weirdest things about Evolution 3 is that we have a park in Japan and we have no Japanese animals at all. I think that's a really weird, like, missing thing. So a DLC of perhaps a dinosaur pack that adds Asian dinosaurs, including Japan, would be good, I think. James, I don't agree with you there. I don't think the invisible aviary is very well implemented, because you still have to attach everything to it, because guests can't view animals from the path. So you have a completely invisible aviary, the animals flying about, but guests still can't look at them until you build them. Here's a looking building. So it's the implementation that I think is a problem. I actually like the invisible aviary. I really like the force field Star Trek style walls. I would love that as a wall, like as a placeable wall, that sort of force field thing, because I think it would look so cool. Oh, you mean the making the ground higher or lower? Yeah, that does help, although as Evo and me have been speaking, the changes they've made to the pterosaurs have kind of made them a little iffy flying around because of they have to deal with the differences in heights and stuff now. It's led to a lot of stuck pterosaurs. So, again, a failure of implementation, not an idea. No British dinosaurs. Chad, there are many British dinosaurs in Evolution 3. Or will be. Baryonyx, Polacanthus, Hypsilophodon, Ichthyosaurus, Plesiosaurus, Liopleurodon, technically. There are many British animals that are currently in the game, so I'm not sure what you have to say about that. Oh, Iguanodon, yes. Well done. What if Frontier makes Notho available for lagoons and land? See, I'm pretty convinced Nothosaurus is just going to be a lagoon animal. Just because to make it a land animal, they would basically have to rebuild the whole animal from scratch. Which I don't think that's cost effective to do. Kind of wastes a new semi-aquatic behavior. Well, again, I don't necessarily agree with that, because there are plenty of shall we say, sea living animals. You know, Nothosaurus, Archelon, Tanystropheus, and others that are all basically, they swam in the sea and they just need a beach. And I think if you remove Nothosaurus from the lagoons, you're again removing the opportunity for the lagoons to be... This is why, again, this is a tangent. I don't like the idea of having a lagoon that you can connect to a land-based habitat. Because to me, when you do that, you remove the uniqueness of the lagoons as a habitat in of themselves. If you can just attach it to land, then it just becomes water. Whereas, as it is now, the lagoons are a unique, different habitat. With their own decorative pieces and viewing systems and everything else. As they are now, as unique entities, they have the option of more mechanical depth and becoming greater than what they are now. If you just connect them to deep water and terrestrial habitats, you lose that uniqueness. That's my point. That's my view. You lose the uniqueness of the habitat if you do that. Same as if you just removed aviaries to have some sort of imaginary device that stops the pterosaurs flying away. You remove the aviaries as unique habitats, and then everything might as well just be on land then. But I will talk more about that in my DLC, Lagoon DLC video when I eventually get around to it. What is my favorite dinosaur? As a general animal, Baryonyx. Just because I've always loved the name. I think Baryonyx is one of the coolest dinosaur names around. However, if you're talking about Jurassic World Evolution 3, Amargasaurus. Amargasaurus is my boy. See, Polsky, I understand what you mean about having a lagoon without the high fence, but if you do that, you force people to build fencing around it if they want to fence it off. So, it also doesn't make much sense to have this huge block of water with no way of stopping guests drowning. So, removing the fence makes it inherently unrealistic, and I'm a big proponent that parks should be realistic in form. Do you think we will see Jurassic World Evolution 4? You know, I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't think there's anything that they could do with Evolution 4 that would make it worthwhile buying. Jurassic World Evolution 3, as I keep saying, it's not a bad game. What they have is a really solid foundation. What we need is updates that focus on more than just dinosaurs. We need the mechanical stuff. We need the gameplay stuff. The one thing I really absolutely loved about the Rebirth DLC was the fact we actually got a new gameplay mechanic for once in the geothermal power system that actually required you to think when you were using it and building with it and expanding with it. That's the sort of shit we want. We need more mechanical and gameplay depth. We want more animations and behaviors, because right now I don't think it's acceptable that every animal has one social and one baby animation. I think that's completely unacceptable. That basically hasn't changed since Evolution 1, really. We need more behaviors. We need more animations. We need these animals to feel more lifelike. And when you look at stuff like Planet Zoo 2, I mean, even if you look at Planet Zoo 1, frankly, No, they've got animals climbing up shit and climbing up trees and climbing around stuff you build in their habitats, and they've got multiple animations, and they've got all sorts of stuff in Planet Zoo 1. And have you seen the stuff they're doing in Planet Zoo 2? I'm like... Jurassic World Evolution 3 is looking more and more like the runt of the litter. Again. When I did my big retrospective review of Jurassic World Evolution 1 when it finished development, one of my quotes from it was that alongside Planet Coaster and Planet Zoo, Jurassic World Evolution 1 looks like a village idiot. And thinking forwards, looking at Jurassic World Evolution 3, and then looking at Planet Zoo 2 and Planet Coaster 2, Jurassic World Evolution 3 looks like a village idiot compared to Planet Zoo 2. I mean, for heaven's sake, the guests don't even walk across the stuff we build in the modular building. Jurassic World Evolution 3 has the worst modular building system of any game with a modular building system in it. Guests don't use the stairs. They don't walk across the stuff you put down. They won't use the bridges you create with it. We can glitch. We can use exploits and glitches and shit to get tour rides working across things. But we shouldn't have to. We shouldn't have to use glitches and bugs. It should just do it by its bloody self. Like it does in Planet Coaster, like it does in Planet Zoo, like it does in Prehistoric Kingdom. We shouldn't have to use exploits for really basic stuff, especially not with modular building. I mean, come on, guys. Yeah, guests are meaningless, because they're just particle effects. There's no dinosaur enrichment. It makes me laugh. DIN is supposed to be all about making the dinosaurs' lives better, and yet they don't want to talk about dinosaur enrichment or habitat enrichment at all. Aladar says, I feel like they're going to resell Monolophosaurus, Tarbosaurus, Bumpy Skin, and the Novasaurus in the Chaos Theory DLC pack. I would be really against that if that's what they did. Because I haven't seen Chaos Theory, I refuse to watch the animated shows. From what I'm aware, the only new animal is Beckel Spinax, which technically I know doesn't exist. Should be Altis Spinax, but ignoring that. The only new animal is a Beckel Spinax, right? So if they did do a Chaos Theory DLC, like, there would be at least 3 resolds in there. Oof. Big oof. One guest was pointing at a flower yesterday. Yeah, they never look in the right directions either. I always think it's funny when they walk alongside a dinosaur enclosure and they're just pointing at some random fucking tree or something while the dinosaur's on their other side. They're not very intelligently done. I'm okay with a Chaos Theory DLC as long as it comes to the story like the Rebirth one. So James, you would want a whole expansion then, basically, at that point. I mean, maybe, but I'm not sure Chaos Theory lends itself to... I don't know, I haven't watched the show, so... Really? Just put out Chonker up here. Oh, there is the beloved Shoni swimming past. I honestly don't mind paying for resold Evolution 2 DLC species at all. At least they return to Evolution 3. Again, Aladar, I think that's a very oh god, I forgot the name. What's the word I'm looking for? I think that's a very, like, seeing the glass half full sort of thing, which I think is very fair. You know, at least Shoni and Stixo are back, and they haven't been, you know, they're not totally gone. I think that's a very positive, perhaps positive thinking way of looking at it. But I just... that, for me, doesn't override my feeling that it's still a scummy business practice. You know, different strokes for different folks. I do wonder when the next film is going to come out. Because, I just want less film content, because the films have been shit. Let's be fair, Rebirth was a nightmare, so was Dominion, so was Fallen Kingdom. I kind of want to get... I want Frontier to be like, invent something themselves. Because all of the DLCs for Evolution 1, which were not based on the movies at all, really, they did really well with. They actually were really interesting. Well, Chad, yeah, but we still got David bloody Cope writing it, so it's not exactly happy news. There's got to be at least one more big DLC because the whole thing with Lily and her story has to be resolved. That is a good point. Well, I mean, wasn't it kind of resolved by the end of... the last campaign mission? Like, she basically got away with it. By the way, I saw her betrayal coming a mile away. Like, I was not surprised at all. Like, I saw that shit coming a mile away. I never trusted her. I didn't trust her in Evolution 2. I was suspicious of her from the start. It's like losing a family member. That's a kind of nice way of putting it, Aladar, and I totally get your perspective. Like I say, I think it's like a very positive way of looking at it, perhaps. I just think it would be better if we didn't have to pay for them, or at least weren't paying so much for them. Yeah, ESL. I mean, I suppose that's the one thing I haven't commented on, because I kind of feel like it's usually the last response from people that can't come up with a more convincing argument. There is the possibility that the whole background to this DLC is universal. we can never, whenever something happens with evolution that's kind of shitty, we cannot completely deny that maybe Universal is behind this. I don't think it's entirely right to always say it's Universal's fault. But I suppose there's the possibility this is Universal's fault. I'm just going to, like, it could be their Universal's fault, and it might not be Frontier who's done this. But at the same time, I suspect it is not Universal. I miss Isla Pena. I legitimately think Isla Pena was an underappreciated map. I think one of the big problems with square maps is people find it difficult to build on them because they're so featureless. They're so without challenge and so without natural features that I think people actually struggle to use the square maps. And I think Isla Pena was a really cool map because it was so restrictive. You had to, like, completely change your methods of building for it. So I miss Pena. I also think Pena had really good views, like, around the surrounding map. Pena sucked balls. I mean, James, when I did my very first review for Evolution 1 after 40 hours of playing, like, I did it like 2 months after the game came out, I hated Pena. It took me a long time to come to respect Pena. Modding helped, but in the end, I learned to love Isla Pena. Isla Tacaño. Honestly, they should bring back Isla Tacaño. I loved that map. Same, I also really loved the Isla Sorna map with the big plateau in the middle. Because if we had that in Evolution 3, we could build on the plateau. It would be so cool to be able to do that. By the way, this is a good opportunity to just remind people to, you know, hit the like button on the stream, subscribe if you're new to the channel for, you know, not just dinosaur content, but all the other content we do. Dane is playing through Hades 2, Fallout's playing through U-Boat. We do lots of group streams and stuff. You know, all the usual YouTuber stuff. You know me, I don't like begging for people to do that stuff, but just putting it out there, you know. Maybe Frontier is testing the reselling strategies. I mean, I would argue that they did that already with the Deluxe Edition and probably the Hybrid Pack. So I think they've already tested the waters, and I think because enough people has already brought it, I think this is the natural conclusion of that process. Thank you, Big Al. King Giga, quite a lot, honestly. I did, James. Yes. In fact, I did do one of my weirdly really popular videos from just after Evolution 3 launched. I did a comparison of the returning maps in Evolution 3 to Evolution 2. And yeah, I noticed there was that the aviary is missing in Evolution 3. And yeah, that video did surprisingly well. Like, I didn't think it was going to get like 30, 40,000 views or something stupid like that. It was really weird. It does remind me I need to do the video looking at the brand new Evolution 3 maps and kind of deciding which I think is best. It is 10:30 at night, yes. I will be going to 11, though, so another half hour or so. Shall we actually... what's going to be the easiest way of going through this? Probably to bring up the website. Web thread. And we're going to want... where is it? Is it in the news? Hang on. Where's the... Where is the website page where they had all the bloody modular building stuff? Maybe there? Ah, yes. It is here. Right. Let us get rid of this. And we will put in capture. And we want to capture this. There we go. Do you think any creatures won't come back? Yes, I do. Honestly, I think Hwango is gone forever. I don't think Hwango is coming back. Right, I just wanted to have another look at all these scenery bits. So let's... We've got these lovely little changing room style things, which I think are really quite cute. Fishing huts. This little sign, which I hope the guests can actually walk under. The guests can be a little iffy when you put stuff over paths. This looks a bit busted and broken. I don't know. Maybe it's just the picture they've got, but it looks like that is broken and kind of damaged. Also, I wonder if that's a new type of glass in the roof of that. Actually, that is something I didn't say. I am very excited to get the new glass. Even though I think it should have been there to start with. I am looking forward to having some genuine good glass variety at last. I'm going to have to go back and probably like change all of my workshop structures to like put the new glass types in. But I'm so glad we're getting proper glass at last. It's taken them long enough, like I said. Reselling animals is bad, but not as bad as you're making it out to be. Biocraft, again, I think that's a fair perspective to have. However, my point is this is the 4th time they've done it. So I think it is as bad as I'm making it out to be. And I think if we don't kick back about it now, we will just keep getting more and more of this in the future. And I don't think we want them to keep doing this. I think we want them to give us new stuff instead of reselling old stuff. That's just my perspective. But I fully accept that there are worse things, Biograph. I do. Archaeornithomimes. Yeah, we don't need Archaeornithomimes. I hate Archaeornithomimes. I hate that fudging animal. it's badly made. Like, it looks rubbish because it's got a really bad texture. It's got a really bad model. It looks worse than Gallimimus and Struthiomimus. Both Struthi and Galli have better skins, look better, and Ornithomimus is feathered. So even if you gave Archaeornithomimus feathers, it wouldn't improve it. It's just such a rubbish animal. Just get rid of it. Hate it. The next free dinosaur after Elasmo. Carcaro, maybe? I would like to see Carcaro come back. Because we haven't had a new large theropod in a while. And no, I don't count Distortus Rex. Not a large theropod, it's a beluga whale mixed with a rancor. I like this little shelter for benches. They actually had similar structures to these in where I used to live in Brighton. It's kind of a cute little thing. Same with this nice glass one. This pier though is probably my favorite of the buildings. Like, I really love this little pier. And then obviously these little, like, shops. And then this, which looks like is like a seating area attached to something else. Which, again, they're all nice buildings. I just think they're very Americanized, which is not a complaint. It's just an observation. Look, just because Claire mentioned Archaeornithomimus in one line of a movie doesn't make it canon. If you don't see it, it isn't canon. That's the rule. The guests will walk under the entrance. Oh well, good, because like I've had a problem on my Arizona rebuild map. That the guests keep not wanting to walk underneath the rock arch unless I make the rock non-collision, even though it's raised up in the air. Just another one of those, like, the guests not working properly instances, which really drives me up the wall. What is my favorite DLC? Okay, I'm gonna consider all of the games for that question. Oh, that's actually quite difficult. It's got to be the Return to Jurassic Park DLC from the first game. Not just because it brought all the Jurassic Park content in it, but it had an imaginative narrative. It made good use of the characters. It brought mechanical differences because, you know, you didn't have all the attraction structures, you just had the tour truck ride. I mean, close second would be Claire Sanctuary because I think the two Claire Sanctuary maps are really good. And I think the paleo feeding system was a very interesting mechanic that I think they should bring back and alter slightly for Evolution 3. But that's a totally different conversation. See you later, Kairu. You actually miss Owen and Claire and I don't. The only reason I miss Owen and Claire is that I can't push them inside the Distortus Rex habitat. More Owen than Claire. But yeah, I have no love for either of those characters. Honestly, I've never played Jurassic World Evolution 1, so I have no idea what those DLC are. Ah, interesting. Well, in that case, then, if you're talking about just Jurassic World Evolution 2 and 3, the Lagoon DLC from Evolution 2 is probably the one I would pick. Bye-bye, chat. I really like all these signs that we're getting in this with these modular buildings pieces. There are some really good. Where are they? Like all these like signage. Like there's like a fish one here, and there's like some other ones here. They're like the life buoy. The surfboards are a really cool addition. There's just there are some really good modular building pieces in this, to be fair. And I'm actually curious about something. So, 13 blueprints, 274 items. So 37 blueprints, 387 items. I suppose that makes sense. Wetland DLC. $13 blueprints, 212 items. So you could argue we are getting more modular building item pieces for our money as well. How much that's worth, I suppose, depends on how much you use the modular building system. But we are getting like 50 odd more items, which is worth remembering. Yeah, Darby Raptor, I agree. Like, Claire does genuinely have character development. She is different by the end of the 3 movies. Whereas Owen is just the same tosshead that he has always been. I mean, I also personally don't like Chris Pratt because he said some pretty shady shit about gay people. So screw him, frankly. Crazy that the Wetlands DLC was almost like 8 months ago. Well, this game is what? The 1 year anniversary is 2 months' time? Where are we? We're at the beginning of August. And it came out in October, didn't it? So we're almost at the 1 year anniversary already. I would not care if there is one DLC with old returning animals. I am still purchasing that shit. Fair enough. Again, like, I'm also not trying to change anybody's minds. If they want to go and buy the DLC with the resold species, more power to them. Like, I'm not trying to change anybody's mind either with stuff like this. I want to make that very, very clear. You go spend your money how you like. All I have endeavored to do is to give my view. That's all. As a tiny YouTube content creator who's trying to build his channel, or build the channel every year as a hobby, essentially. Because that's the other thing. YouTube is a hobby for me. It's not a business. It's not like Evo where it's her job. YouTube is a hobby. I do it for fun. What other creatures do you think will be cut alongside Hoango? I suppose that depends what animals we're totally missing. I can't remember. Oh, I think Alamo is gone as well. I don't think Alamo is coming back because it's basically Patico Titan. I think Alamo is gone as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if Barbaridactylus or Sungaripterus stays completely gone as well. I think Yehalopterus... I love Yehalopterus, but I just don't see it returning. It would be a shame, but I mean, we have the compies, and the compies have babies, don't they? So, I don't know. I hope we get something for the 1 year anniversary, Polsky. Like, I don't mind what it is. Like, if it's a statue, if it's an animal, if it's just some skins, whatever. I just want something to recognize the 1 year anniversary. Like, you doubt Megalosaurus will make a return? The only reason why I think it will come back is because British Dinosaur, British Games Company, most important dinosaur ever discovered. So I think Megalosaurus will return. Yehalopterus as an anniversary gift. Well, they would have to re-implement the insect feeder. So it wouldn't... I mean, that wouldn't be too difficult to do, though. I don't know, maybe. I forgot the name of the marine reptile, the one from Jurassic World Cam Cretaceous, but I would really want it to be semi-aquatic instead of a lagoon species. The Nothosaurus. See, the only reason why I don't think that'll become semi-aquatic is because they would have to rebuild the animal. Also, Nothosaurus is one of those that's basically pretty much confirmed to be ocean living, capable of diving and stuff. And I think if it was made a semi-aquatic, I don't think it would be as good, honestly. And I think Nothosaurus and Archelon as well give the lagoons a unique type of animal for those habitats. What dinosaurs would I like to see in a DLC? Plateosaurus. Give me my Plateosaurus. That's a big one of mine. There's a bunch of lagoon animals I would love to see, which I'm not going to spoil because it'll spoil my lagoon DLC video. I'm actually trying to think of, is there any other like big animals I would want? See, most people say like Lambeosaurus, but Lambeosaurus is too close to Sintal and Olorotitan for me. If Lambeosaurus came and it walked on 4 legs instead of 2, maybe. But if it was another 2-leg walking hadrosaur, I think it's too similar to others. Plateosaurus is not fugly. Plateosaurus is beautiful. Oh, Saltosaurus is another dinosaur. A genuine, real armored sauropod that is not a hybrid. Saltosaurus should definitely come to the game. Plateosaurus, Saltosaurus, maybe Yangchunosaurus. Like I say, something from Japan, like Fukiraptor. But that would probably be about it. Omisaurus is the one you're thinking of, or Omisaurus, Connor. But to be honest, I would kind of want them to move away from dinosaurs and kind of look into other animal groups, like they are doing with this latest pack. A Gorgonopsid in Austransevia. Edaphosaurus. Scutosaurus, Moschops. Those would all be big ones on my list to have as well. I'm not as big a fan as Cenozoic animals coming to the game. I would actually prefer them to, like, pick species from Paleozoic period as opposed to Cenozoic. Just because I think the Paleozoic animals work better with Jurassic as an overall theme. Stop talking dirty. What did I say? Funnily enough, James, when I was thinking about my Lagoon DLC video idea, Basilosaurus was on that list, but it didn't get picked. Actually, let's I'll give you guys a little bit of an insight, at least into my Lagoon video. So these are some animals that didn't make the cut for my Lagoon video. Basilosaurus, Symbospondylus, Hesperionis, Globidens, those are some animals that did not make the cut. Solely because, I'll explain why, at least for the Basilosaurus. I do think Basilosaurus would be cool to have in the Lagoons, don't get me wrong. But my Lagoon DLC idea is built specifically around some new mechanics that the Basilosaurus wouldn't take advantage of. And I also happen to think that Basilosaurus, it would just basically be Mosasaurus. Like, I know they're not the same, but I think we're basically good for really big Lagoon animals. I think we're good for big ones. I think we actually need more in the mid and small categories than big. Hesperionis is a Cretaceous period coastal bird. Do you think sauropods will ever be able to fight back? Nope, because they would require coding and animation changes, which I don't think Frontier are willing to do at this time. That would be a new game, Jurassic World Evolution 4 thing, if they were to do it. Leedichthyes was another species I considered for the DLC. Why I didn't put it in is, again, it would require... It wouldn't be able to make use of new mechanics that I had put in. It would require its own unique feeding stuff. And it's just too big. Like, it's a huge animal. It would be the sort of thing you'd have to build a really massive lagoon for. Again, I love lead ichthyes, and I think it would be really cool to have in lagoons. There were just other animals that I thought fitted better. For reasons you guys will see when I do make the video. But the video isn't going to come out anytime soon because I want to make a really good video. Like I say, I'm getting unique artwork made for it and stuff, so I want it to be a really good video. Same as the Walking with Dinosaurs retrospective that I'm still writing the script for. Like, I want it to be really good. Like my prehistoric park retrospective. Incidentally, if you haven't watched my prehistoric park retrospective, and you were fans of the show, or if you have never seen the show, I suggest you go and watch my retrospective on it. Because it's quite a good video. Which Walking with Dinosaurs? The only Walking with Dinosaurs that matters. We do not talk about the one from years hence. What about Planet Dinosaur? Planet Dinosaur? Do you mean Prehistoric Planet? Which one? I'm not sure which one you were referring to there. I agree, Polsky. I'm not a fan of having Argentinosaurus either. I actually think we're good for large sauropods. I think we need more mid-size and small. Like, we really need Camarasaurus back. I would actually say I would be pretty happy if Camarasaurus was the next free species, because I think Camarasaurus is a good, like, mid-sized sauropod. Because sometimes you want a sauropod, but you don't want massive sauropods. You just want a slightly bigger one. Perfect series, more now. That was more or less what I said by the end of it. There's the Walking with Dinosaurs documentary, and then there's the Hike with Paleontologists. Yes, exactly. Oh, this is perhaps one of my favorite musical tracks from Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, actually. Anyway, so yeah, I think this has been quite informative. Like, we've all had good-natured conversation. I think it's been interesting to get your guys' opinions. Like I said, I'm not buying it until it comes down in price. I'm taking that principle, and I think it is. I've read through loads of comments and stuff, and your guys' thoughts. So far, nobody has convinced me that the reselling is acceptable. I think from what I've had, the closest I could say is I think there are fair reasons why people aren't as interested or as bothered, and that is fair. But no one's convinced me that reselling is good, basically. That's my thing. Thoughts on Big Whale Leviathan coming to the game? Again, I would say a bit like Basilosaurus. I'm going to stop the music now. A bit like Basilosaurus. I don't think we need more big animals in the lagoons. I think we need more mid-sized and small. Thank you, TJ. I do appreciate it. I'm going to say that. Just want to say as well for everyone who's been here. Thank you. You know, I know this is not particularly the most visually interesting, me just sitting here talking about shit with you guys. It's not like Evo building or whatever. So I really do appreciate you guys coming to sit in here, to interacting with me, talking. You know, it is very much appreciated, as is any likes, as is subs, etc. We do really appreciate it. Us little small channels, we don't get a lot of help in the algorithm, so stuff like what you guys have done today really does help. So yeah, I really do appreciate that. However, it is 11 o'clock, so I am going to leave it here for today. I will be back on Sunday. I might be doing Jurassic World Evolution 3. I might be doing The Isle. I will have to think about it. But I will be back playing something on Sunday. So I hope to see some of you guys there. It'll be starting at the same time as it started today. So, yeah, I hope to see some of you folks then. And obviously, I hope you all have a good rest of the day. And I hope the rest of your week goes okay. I don't get invited to Frontier, James. No, I don't. I kind of wish I did, because I would ask them some really tough questions. But I don't get invited to Frontier's events. I'm not big enough. And between you guys and me, I don't think I ever will. Even if we had like 100,000 subs, I don't think I would ever be invited, because I'm too nasty. I think, yeah, I'm a naysayer. I'm too much of a risk that I might say something terrible about something they do. So I don't think I would ever be asked. But who knows? Maybe who knows what the future holds at the end of the day. But yeah, I'm going to leave it here for now. I hope to see you guys on Sunday. Enjoy the rest of your evenings and your weeks. Stay safe, and good night.